EVERFLOW Codex, the feather that burns worlds. Quadrant formation. Ascended edition, written by Sora Amare Elise. Quadrant 1, Sonar Awakening, the Axis of Perception. You didn't choose this quadrant, it chose you. Your awareness brought you here long before the image appeared. This is the place where your senses whisper truths your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Welcome to the quadrant of instinct, the realm where perception becomes its own intelligence. This quadrant belongs to the ones who feel before others speak, to the ones who hear intention before the mouth forms words, to the ones whose instincts activate on their behalf. Fast, sharp, automatic. You are here because your system has stopped waiting for permission, stopped waiting for evidence, stopped waiting for validation. Your sonar runs beneath language. Your radar moves under the surface of behavior. You read the world in frequencies, not expressions. People don't understand this. They mistake your clarity for suspicion, your intuition for overthinking, your insight for coincidence. But you're not guessing, you're receiving. Quadrant 1 is where instinct graduates into autonomous intelligence, where your awareness evolves faster than your emotions, where your senses protect you before danger even forms a thought. This quadrant calls those who've been betrayed, dismissed, gaslit, ignored, yet still knew the truth before anyone else did. You're not here to learn how to sense. You're here because you already do. You are here because you notice what others overlook. You detect what others deny. You recognize the shift before it happens. You see through coverings without trying. You feel the fracture before it breaks. You don't anticipate betrayal. You sense it. You don't search for red flags. Your field highlights them. You're not intuitive, you're tuned. And your tuning fork is connected to a geometry most people will never understand. Welcome to Quadrant 1, the axis of perception, the realm of invisible awareness, the gateway to your EVERFLOW sonar. This is where your instinct becomes your first language. You chose the serpent, not because you're hiding, but because you're ready to shed. This quadrant isn't here to judge you. It's here to help you take off what stopped fitting years ago. What you carry isn't who you are. Let this quadrant show you the truth beneath the covering. Quadrant 2, the lie that took your face. Where the coverings loosen, crack, and fall away. Humans don't hide truth. They embody the lie and let it wear their face. Not a mask, a full replacement. A covering so practiced, so rehearsed, so repeated, they forget it isn't them. This quadrant exists for the ones who can feel the tension between their true self and the coverings they've been forced to carry. You're here because something in your spirit is breaking the outer shell, the old performance, the practice quiet, the survival-built identity that once protected you, but now restricts your movement. Quadrant 2 isn't about shame, it's about reclamation. The serpent doesn't coil to hide, it coils to prepare, to tighten truth under pressure until the moment of shedding arrives. This quadrant recognizes the parts of you pretending to be okay, the pieces you've outgrown the coverings holding borrowed confidence, the remnants of an identity that served you once the weight that is no longer compatible with your evolution. Here, you aren't punished for your coverings. You're invited to release them, and make no mistake. You chose this quadrant because you're ready. Ready to admit that parts of your old identity were held together by survival, not authenticity. Ready to acknowledge that the lie was never your enemy. It was a temporary shelter that protected truth until you were strong enough to step out of it. The serpent teaches this: you do not break, you shed. and the parts you shed were never meant to follow you into the next era of your EVERFLOW quadrant. 2 speaks to the version of you that refuses to walk into the future wearing yesterday's coverings. The lie isn't here to shame you. It's here to announce that the truth beneath it has outgrown its cage. Welcome to Quadrant 2, the place where identity peels back and the real self steps forward without fear. You chose the feather, the softest symbol with the sharpest consequence. This quadrant calls those who are ready to burn what isn't them and walk forward unburdened. Quadrant 3, the feather that scorches terrain. Where gentleness becomes the strongest force in the room, this quadrant belongs to the ones who are done pretending, done tolerating, done holding together the pieces of a version of themselves built to survive, not to grow. This is not the quadrant of destruction. This is the quadrant of purification. The feather is light, but its truth burns hotter than fire. You chose this quadrant because you're standing at the edge of a quiet internal collapse. A collapse you didn't cause, but one that time, pressure, and your own evolution has made inevitable. Quadrant 3 is not here to set your world on fire. It's here to show you what needs to burn. Here illusions cannot stand. The illusion of I'm fine. The illusion of calm you wear in chaos. The illusion of strength built from exhaustion. The illusion of loyalty to the wrong things. The illusion of confidence spoken, but never felt. They crack. They smoke. They give way in your hands because your spirit refuses to carry dead weight another day. Quadrant 3 is where you finally admit what your soul already knows. Some things can't come with you. Some things were never meant to. And here's where the burn becomes beautiful. You don't scorch others. You scorch your illusions. You purify your path by removing everything that has no right to stand on it. This quadrant speaks to the ones who feel the shift in their chest. That warm pressure, that quiet insistence, that whisper saying, it's time. Not time to destroy, but time to release. Time to let the light inside you burn through the shadows you've been holding on to out of habit. The feather burns gently, but completely. Nothing falls, survives it. And the best part? You don't walk out of this quadrant smaller. You walk out of it clearer. This is where you set down the illusions that exhausted you. This is where you rise lighter, sharper, stronger, and aligned with the truest version of who you are becoming. Welcome to Quadrant 3, the axis of purification, the feather of fire, the burn that frees. Quadrant 4, the rising drop, the axis of transformation. You chose the drop that rises, the symbol of evolution in motion. This quadrant finds those who are shifting without announcing their transformation. You don't need permission to ascend. You're already rising. Quadrant 4 Pren, ascension in real time, where your growth becomes its own gravity. This quadrant is not for beginners, not for the hesitant, not for those who still negotiate their truth with the world around them. Quadrant 4 is for the ones who are already transforming while standing completely still. You chose this quadrant because your evolution has stopped waiting for context. It has stopped asking for space. It has stopped looking for approval. Your growth has become automatic. Your rise has become inevitable. Your transformation has become self-propelled. Here, you don't climb. You lift. You don't try. You shift. You don't evolve by force. You evolve by resonance. Quadrant 4 recognizes the moments you changed without noticing the ways you've outgrown your old world quietly, the people you've surpassed energetically, the internal doors you opened without ceremony. the transformation you carry like breath. You're not living in linear time anymore. You're living in EVERFLOW fluid state. Human eyes see you the same, but their instincts whisper, something about them is different. They can't explain it. They can't name it. They can't match it because your evolution is happening between the seconds, between the words, between the breaths. You rise in silence, yet the world feels the impact before you speak. Quadrant 4 is where your presence shifts rooms, your energy bends outcomes, your pulse rewrites dynamics, your clarity redirects pathways, your evolution leaves ripples in people's minds. You don't grow to escape the world. You grow until the world must adjust to you. This quadrant is the final axis because it is the culmination of all the others. From perception, quadrant 1, to shedding, quadrant 2, to purification, quadrant 3, and now ascension, quadrant 4. This is where everything you've endured becomes fuel, where everything you've released becomes lightness, where everything you've learned becomes instinct. And the truth is simple. You're not rising because you want to. You're rising because you've outgrown gravity. Welcome to Quadrant 4, the final ascent, the rising drop, the silent surge, the EVERFLOW uplift. This is your closing axis, your final turning, your next beginning.